Let's take a walk around the Potensic Atom 2 app. I believe it's called Eve, like Adam and Eve, maybe, I don't know. It's called Eve, I think. But let's take a walk around this app, and I will show you some of the menus and explain what these features are, so you have a better understanding what you're looking at when you go out to fly. Start in the upper left corner. There's an arrow, a left arrow all the way to the left here. If I tap that, it brings me back to the opening screen for the app. If I want to go back to the drone screen, I click on the Fly Now button, which is blue, and we are back to this screen. Now next to it, there's a red banner. Thing is, the drone is in low power mode, so it's warning me not to launch. If it was ready to take off, we would have a green bar there. It would say ready to take off. Now if I tap on this, it gives me choices. I can choose video normal, or sport mode. This is how much power is going to the motors, so it controls how fast and aggressive the drone flies. You can choose that here. You can also choose it from the main menu, which I'll cover in just a minute. Then moving down, you can set your return altitude and your maximum altitude, and you can adjust your maximum distance to keep it as close to you as you want. Moving across the top to the right, there's two rows of icons or numbers here. Looking at the top, the first one looks like a little camera coming down off a gimbal. That is showing your gimbal angle. If you tilt this down, you can see the little numbers right next to it dropping, negative 32, 33. That's because I'm tilting down. If I tilt it back up, the numbers come down, get close to zero. You can actually take this all the way up into positive numbers, so the thing is pointing up slightly. I think you can go up to 20 on that. So I almost never do that. There's nothing in the sky I'm really interested in. But that's what that icon, and it's just the value of having that information is if you're flying a shot that you want to recreate. I'm flying here today, I want to do this, reset up the exact same shot tomorrow, knowing exactly where my camera is, what angle my camera is at, is part of matching up shots from yesterday with the shots from today. So that's about the only use I can see for it. Tilt back down so you can see the numbers a little better. But that's what that means. Next to that, there's a little satellite icon in 19, 17, 18. Right next to it, that's how many satellites this flight system is connected to. Next to that is it says RC, and then there's a bar chart, how much of a signal the RC has. Moving over, you see 80%, and that's battery charge, battery charge on the battery in the drone. And moving over from that, you see percentage there. Those are that's battery charge information for the flight system. Now beneath that is a series of 0.0s, and that refers to the altitude. H is altitude, and then you've got two more, and that's speed, and that's how fast it's going horizontally and how fast it's going vertically. So if you want to know what speed you're going on these things, that information will be displayed there. Okay, all the way in the upper right corner is an icon that looks like an ellipse sideways, 3 dots in a row. It's hard to see here. Let me tilt down a little bit. You can see a little better. There you go. With a darker background, you can see the 3 dots. I'm going to touch on that in a minute. That's the actual settings that you can adjust for the drone itself, but we'll come back to that. I want to cover this main screen first. Moving down, you got a film strip icon. If I tap on that, you can see I've got choices here for slow motion, and then I can choose normal or AI night or Cineroll for my recording modes. And then there are 3 choices for photo, video, and panorama. If I want to take still pictures, I tap on photo, and it will work. Now, all the way along the right in the middle, you see a big red circle. That means that I'm set to shoot video. You can see video is highlighted. If I tap on photo here, now you can see that it's gone white. That means I'm set to take a still picture. Let me switch back to video mode. I can't show you panorama because the drone isn't in the air right now. But if I were flying, I could do panorama pictures from that screen there. Moving down a little bit, I've got another icon beneath the red circle. That is my gallery. If I tap on that, it would show all of the pictures and video clips that I've got recorded on the card, and I don't have any right now, so it doesn't show anything. Moving down all the way, you see the letter A, and that in a white background icon, that is automatic mode, and that means that I am set to let it, the way this is set up now, the drone will take care of setting all the camera settings for me, and I won't have to do that. Now if I tap on the A, now it's M, meaning it's in manual mode, and you see I've got more choices to the left of the icon. There's 100, 1/100th, and 5200. That is the ISO, the shutter speed, and then the white balance. It's a little bit, we're close to sundown right now, so it's a little bit different on the white balance in daytime. So that's what things you get. And again, if I tap on the M and go back to auto, those go away, and the drone handles that by itself. Now if I wanted to make changes on those, I could tap on any of those 3 top row buttons, and here I've got choices. I got the white balance. I can leave it in auto white balance or manual. Then I can change my shutter speed, my ISO, and then EM. I'll talk about that one in just a minute. The bottom row beneath those 3 sets of numbers, 1080p, 24 means I'm shooting at 1080p resolution, 24 frames a second. I tap on that, and I can change that up to 4K. I can change it up to 30 frames a second. Now if I was shooting in 1080p, I could go up to, I believe, 60. Let me look. I'm going to tap back on 1080p. Yeah, I can go up to 60 frames per second, but I always shoot in 4K. So 30 frames per second, and my aspect ratio is 16:9. Again, if I were to go up to 1080p, then I've got 9:16 or 4:3. But I shoot 16:9, 4K, 30 frames per second. Beneath that, you've got the choice for formatting the media card, and then this tells me the status of my media card, which is, yeah, I have the whole card ready to fill up with pictures and videos. Up along the very top, you see there's a folder with an arrow left and an arrow right. Then next to it, there's kind of another icon. If I tap on that, now there's other settings. This is another way to get to the manual settings: white balance, shutter speed, ISO, and the exposure value compensation. Looking at the numbers across the bottom here, it says EV0 and then 119 slash 119. I've already talked about the 119. That's the status of the media card, how full it is, or in this case empty. EV0, that's exposure value compensation. For whatever reason, drone cameras, in my opinion, almost always overexpose slightly. So when the drone thinks it's metering correctly, it's actually a little bit too bright. So I generally will use EV compensation to adjust for that. To adjust it, I'm going to tap on EV0, and you see I've got a meter here. If I go to the left, I can make it negative, like there's -1. And you see how the screen went darker? Let me do it again. You go There's -2. See how much darker this is? And if I go to the right, now I'm back at 0, and now I can go all the way up to +2. You can see it's way blown out. So you can adjust your exposure value compensation to allow for a disagreement between you and the camera as far as setting your exposure, and you can control how the camera meters. I generally will leave mine on -2 or -4, and then I'm usually happy with that. Moving all the way over to the left, there's a map. I think it's Google Maps, but that would show where you're currently located. I believe that as I'm flying, it will show a kind of a blue line, or a line that follows my flight path for that particular flight. I don't want to click on that now because I don't want to show where my house is located. That wouldn't be real smart. So, but that's the purpose of that little icon in the bottom left corner. Looking at this screen overall, you see there's an X crossing the middle of the screen. The center point is the point where the two lines and the X meet. This shows me where my center point is on my screen. See, as I pan it down, the X doesn't move. This helps me center my subject on the screen. You don't have to have that on. This is an option, and I'll show you how to get there in just a minute. You can also set up vertical and horizontal lines in kind of a checkerboard pattern on the screen, and that's also really nice because it lets you, like if you want to follow the rule of thirds, you can divvy up the screen by thirds based on aligning things on those checkerboard lines. Again, I'll show you how to get those once we get into the settings. So that's the main screen here. Now let's go all the way up to the top with the 3-dot icon. I'm going to tap on that, and now we're in the settings. On the left column, you see you've got different menus for different settings. Safety is the most obvious one, and calibration, control, camera settings, video transmission, and then information about the drone and the controller itself. Going back up to safety, what's on the safety menu, you can see it's highlighted. It's shown in this box to the right. You can toggle on or off beginner mode. If you're brand new to drones, that's not a bad thing. It kind of keeps the drone low and close. It doesn't get away from you, so to speak. If you're in beginner mode, it's a nice governor to put on the drone and on yourself until you're more comfortable flying the drone. Below that is speed settings. This is how fast the drone is going, or how much power is going to the motors. Speed settings include video, normal, and sport. Video is the same thing as cinematic on a DJI or other drones, so that's really nice and slow. Normal is your normal default setting, and then sport is for higher speed, not as smooth of a flight necessarily, but you can get from point A to point B much more quickly. I always shoot in video mode because I want the best quality video possible, and cinematic is the way to do that. Moving down, return, RTH. What happens when you lose the connection between your controller and the drone itself? It will return to home, which is what it's chosen on now. It will land where it's hovering or where it's located, or it will hover in place and wait for a connection to be regained. I don't think the second or third options are smart in virtually any situation. I don't want it to land where it is, because then I got to go figure out where the heck it is and find it. And I don't want it to hover, because what if I don't reestablish my connection? It's just going to sit there and hover until battery fails, and then I guess it'll land or just drop out of the sky. I don't know. But I think return to home, that's the launch point or the home point if you've changed it during the flight, is where it will return to. Return altitude. So once you trigger a return to home, either by intentionally or if it happens, the drone will fly up to a certain altitude straight up before it flies back. Now you want to make sure that the return altitude is high enough to clear any obstacles in your immediate area, because you don't want it to fly right into a tree or a building or something. So you need to make it that high. However, you don't need to go up to 400 feet. Generally speaking, chances are you're not going to hit anything up that high. So I prefer to leave it about halfway. I have it at 197 feet, and that works. But you can always change it for different situations. Dynamic home point is you can be toggled on or off. Silent return, when you trigger a return to home, the drone makes a beeping sound. If silent return is not activated, I don't need a beeping sound to tell me the drone is returning. I can tell because the drone is returning. So I don't need it to beep at me, so I have that turned on. But if you want to hear it, because it can be jarring. If you don't expect it to go into return to home and it suddenly does, you hear that beeping, that helps you understand what's happening. Virtual fence, maximum altitude, 338 feet. That's well below the 400 foot ceiling that we have here in the U.S. Maximum distance, I have it set for 1,640 feet. You can't see a little drone like this at 1,600 feet away. I'm sorry, I don't care what people say. You can't see it. So I have it even beyond where it needs to be as far as I'm concerned. I would never fly it out that far intentionally. And I want it to stop at some point. If it starts taking off on me, I want the sucker to stop. And so if I have this maximum distance, hopefully that will help me do that. You can increase it all the way up to 13,123 feet, which is nuts. And then you can actually toggle the switch to the right here. It says no limit, and just let it run free around the wilderness or something. I don't know. But again, it's a good idea to set an intelligent maximum distance to help you govern the drone and keep it in check. Moving down, general settings, unit, imperial. You can also choose metric if you're over in England or something, but in the US we tend to use the imperial unit system, and so I've chosen that. Flight safety tips, you'll see those appearing on the bottom of the main screen. If you have this activated, it can't hurt. I leave it on, but you can turn it off if you don't need that anymore. There is a one-hand takeoff function with this drone. I don't use it, so I just leave that turned off. I take off and land manually, so that's irrelevant to me. I don't mess with that. But if you want to use that feature, like if you're launching it, you're holding the drone and you want to launch from your hand, well, having a one-hand launch, one-hand takeoff capability might be kind of nice. So I guess there's a situation where you might activate that. Moving down, emergency propeller stop in mid-flight. I can't imagine why you would do that. I guess if you were flying straight at an airplane that was approaching, you'd probably do anything you can to get your drone down. But you can activate the emergency propeller stop in mid-flight, and your drone will drop at the ground and crash. So that's what that means. Calibration. That's the second menu. You can calibrate your compass, calibrate your gimbal. You can fine-tune your gimbal. I mean, if you do your gimbal calibration and it still doesn't seem like it's straight or level with the horizon, you can tinker with the gimbal calibration with the fine-tuning. Remote controller calibration, even if you don't feel like your sticks are giving you accurate inputs, you can adjust that. And then if you lose the connection between your drone and the controller, you can actually repair the two of them with the repair the drone. That's repair, not repair. Moving down, control. These are settings for the control of the aircraft. Control stick mode. You got mode 1 or mode 1 or mode 2. No one in the world that I know of uses mode 1. We all use mode 2. Tap on this. See, I'm in mode 2. You can customize it too if you really want to be insane. There's really no logical reason to do that. If I switch over to 1, then my left stick becomes my right stick, and my right stick becomes my left stick. Basically, it functions backwards, and all that's going to do is confuse you and make sure that you can't understand any video that's out there to teach you how to do things on the drone, because your stick orientation is backwards. So leave that alone. There's an introduction to the remote controller there that you might want to go through at some point. You can customize the buttons on this controller as well. In the upper, on the top of the controller, in the left and the right corners, there are buttons, and you can actually specify what those buttons do. Let me tap on this. So if I press it, it will do any of these things that I can pick from this list. So you can actually get in and control what your buttons do, and adjust things based on how you fly or what you're going to need. So that's, I don't do that, but it makes sense that you've got that capability. It's nice that you got it. Along the left side, let's go down to camera. Here's where you adjust things for the camera. Again, this is kind of a repeat of that menu when you tap along the bottom right corner. You can set your white balance to auto, or if you choose manual white balance, then you can adjust the slider here for the warmth or coolness of the colors based on the Kelvin scale. Moving down from that, here's where I was talking about with that X across the middle. I've got it activated, so it tells me where the center point is on the screen. If I click on this, then it will just put a dot in the middle of the screen. And if I put on this, it gives me those hash marks on the screen. I'm going to leave those on, and when I close this menu, I'll show you how that looks. I personally I like the crossbars or the X on the screen, but I don't need the other two. Color, standard, not a problem. Recording, you can set different times for how long segments will fly. I leave it on auto. I can control when it does it. Video codec. Now this is an interesting one. If you have an older computer, you may find that it won't handle the latest compression codec, which is H.265. It may not handle it very well. My previous computer would not. I could not get it to work. So I always shot in 264. Are you going to see the difference? Probably not. Are you going to? One may be bigger than the other, and there may be some specs to tell you that one is better than the other. But try H.265, see if and do some test shots and see if you can see the videos on your computer and edit them. And if you can, go with 265. Otherwise, 264 is fine. Coming back down, if you make changes on the camera settings, you can reset things to the defaults. That would be, I haven't changed them, so it's grayed out, but that would be active and you could reset it. Below that, you've got definition and saturation. Definition is essentially clarity and sharpness. You can make the image sharp, more sharp or less sharp. Everyone seems to like blurrier videos. I don't get it. I like a sharp video, so I leave my definition alone. Other people like to tone it down. Same thing with saturation. If you want to really pump up the colors, you can bump up your saturation, or if you think it's too bright, particularly in normal mode, you can pull that down and have it less saturated on your video files. Scrolling down, this tells you remaining total capacity. That again, that's kind of the status of your media card, SD card. If you need to format it, sometimes it's not a bad idea to format a card in your drone, because different devices format things differently, or they could. You want to make sure it's going to work perfectly with your drone. You put in a fresh card and format it with your drone. Nothing wrong with that. Reset the file number. I don't do that, because if you keep resetting the file name, then it's going to go back to 1, and you do that 10 times, and now you've got 10 files on your computer with the same file name, and they're all different files. So I tend to leave that alone, but you can reset your file number. You might do that if you're shooting a project and you want the file numbers to start at 1 for each project, you might do that. That'd be one scenario I could see using that feature. Auto center target, it's on by default. I leave that alone. It'll the target will be automatically centered in the screen when locked into, it says. Okay. I don't really use the auto modes very much, so it doesn't really apply to me. Defog mode, if you got hazy weather, that it will probably bump up your saturation. It will tinker with the colors a little bit, deal with haze or fogginess in your scene. And then video subtitles, you can leave it on or off. It doesn't make any difference. You don't probably use video subtitles, so don't worry about it. Video transmission, I have never tinkered with this on any of the drones. This is how the transmission information between the controller and the drone handles that perfectly. Let it do its thing, and I leave it alone. If you want to tinker with it, go for it. In about, here's where it tells you the model number, firmware version. You can check and update your firmware generally through here. App version, again, you can update your app. And flight safety data version, they're all up to date on here. If they were out of date, I think it would show you, it would test out to their servers and tell you you're out of date. Now, I'm going to close this menu and we'll see the screen now that I've made the changes with those lines on the screen that I was telling you about. We're back to the main menu, and you can see all the lines that were added when we were in the setup menu for the screen. And you see that X across the screen where it crosses right in the middle. That's the one that was there before. At the very middle, you also see a little white dot. If you prefer the dot over the X, you could choose that instead. And then you see that you got lines, vertical and horizontal, that are dividing the screen up into quadrants or sections here. And if I wanted to make sure I was following the rule of thirds, for example, I can put that line right on. See, I've got the edge of the street there in the grass. If I bring this down, there. Now the lines are there to help me line up my shot where any horizontal or vertical line is divided into either 1/3 or 2/3 of the way down the screen. So again, this is simply a way to help you compose your shots and be more precise and more disciplined with following the rule of thirds, which is always a good idea.